Hi everyone, welcome to the 36th FESIG meeting. Today is the 7th of June and we have unfortunately an incident where our speaker Adrian Espinosa is having technical problems. Oh, otherwise, we're all ears awaiting him to present and talk about Skynet, which is so fascinating and interesting. But here we are. I mean, we got Stephane back with us in FESIG, and it's so good that he could do some updates on what he's up to. Let me introduce FESIG. Let me do a screen share for those new viewers. And I'll just introduce very quickly what we're about here as a group. Here, welcome to FESIG. FESIG is a free energy special interest group. It got started in London, and it is a platform where scientists, researchers, explorers of free energy are coming together to explore and to share ideas and to exchange information and technologies, where it is really going towards uniting all creeds and races towards unity, peace, and harmony, working together for freedom and the betterment of humankind. So here, FESIG is free for all to come together and put our heads, minds, and hearts together to forge forth into the breakthroughs of free energy technologies. Here we have this slide here that is showing a agenda of the meeting. So we have a quick presentation of FESIG, which I did. Well, we don't have many new members here. I've had a long chat with Elizabeth a couple of days back, so she knows what we're up to. And then Elizabeth will be one of our speakers later on, and you will see she's such a brilliant scientist. But here we are doing a preview with her here, a presence here with us. And then we'll have, I will do a report of FESIG's last meeting, and then we are going to have, actually supposed to have Adrian Espinosa speaking. Unfortunately, he's having technical issues, so it's a good thing Stephane's here with us, Christian, Fres, James, Elizabeth, and Ron. And here we are going to then, after we finish the meeting, we'll be adjourning to the next meeting on the 21st of June, where we have Gordon James Gianni Noto of Zeta Talk. He will speak with Anthony Zender, Kruger's super soldier, whom James had interviewed before. Hopefully Anthony would be able to make it on that day. I hadn't actually confirmed with him yet, but he's really happy to talk with us. Or if we can get Adrian or Cynthia available at that time, they'll be joining us in a panel as well. Because basically, I like to have a panel for the next meeting and not a standalone speakers, because it is not really spot on with the technology of free energy. So we are just exploring ideas of how we're going to go forward with this and what they can see in the future, and what does the Galactic Federation think about, humanity having access to these technologies. It should be an interesting panel. Okay, thank you. So that's what the agenda is. Okay, so next slide. So if you want to get in touch with me, it's crystal@truevisionofpeace.com. And if you go to truevisionofpeace.com/FESIG.html, that's what you can find out about what we do in detail. Right, so there you go. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to call upon Stephane. Stephane, would you like to keep us updated with what you are up to? I mean, you were amazing with the devices.
Yes, well, right now, what's really interesting, what's going on at the moment, is I'm self-sustaining a device in a way that I don't usually plug it like that, and it's a new way of plugging it again. So, and this way is kind of very interesting because right now I'm only using the cells Well, basically, I have a coil here, but basically, the setup is on these cells. Now, these are the tube cells. I have about 21 here. I have a 12-volt battery, a buck converter, and I'm plugging my cells in parallel on the buck converter. Well, actually, in series, re-looping back on it. And then I'm plugging these super caps in parallel on the cells in a kind of special way, but nothing too complicated. I started with this light. I was maintaining it. It's stronger than this. Like right now, it's not at full spectrum. And then I added this one on the capacitors, and it's still maintaining. And then I added this one here, which is still maintaining also. My voltage right now just went up a volt, and I don't understand exactly why. I could have a few theories, but to be right now, so it's been doing this. Last night at night it goes up from 6 to 7 volts, and right now, about 10 minutes ago, it did the same thing. So the cells right now, I've been able to do pretty much every configuration. There's a way of plugging them. Now my issue, I forgot that I passed this first light. On the plus of the buck converter, I plugged the plus of the light, and all the rest is plugged in series on it. So it's a specific way of plugging it, and it's working. And I like the pulsing, but pulsing includes transistors and resistors. Pulsing gives me a lot more energy than this. Pulsing gives me so much energy, it's not that it gives me more than the 12-volt battery, but it will give me the full potential of 12-volt battery, at full output, and maintain it. I will not, because it loses it doesn't lose amperage when you pulse. You save on the amperage, and I get free voltage. These cells are free voltage. They always have the voltage. You can't drain these cells. So the potential is always there. What's needed is always amperage to back them up. So now with the pulsing, even if I use a 12-volt battery, I am sure 100% I don't lose amps. And right now, I don't see that I'm losing amps either. So there's a lot more tests to be done, but so far the coast is clear to advance. And I have to mention this. I'm waiting again for some spark gaps. I've been sparking a Tesla magnetic coil at between 1,000 and 10,000 volts. I mentioned it last time I didn't really have time to explain it. The phenomenon that came out of it was so amazing. The static field was so much strong that at 6 inches from it, it felt like a speaker. It felt literally like mass. So we're not talking about subtle static energy. We're talking about condensed static energy that felt like mass.
That's something that Tesla mentioned when he was doing his experiments.
Yes, I'm sure, Ellie, that you'll be able to enlighten us a lot on that. What's fun on me, at least, is that I don't really use any models apart from the models that came out of the observations. I do observe some models to see, but the way I make it work is through observations and testing. So, and I could just, say this: the oxide play a big role here because everything's working. Everything has results to it that I do.
So this is a permanent battery?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Now the way that it's plugged, the light is plugged on it in series, and usually these don't pass enough amps to light up this light. But I don't know. I plugged it. I know that this one passes more amps than the other ones. I made sure it was plugged on this kit. Sure. that allowed me to plug it in this particular way. Usually I would plug it either a coil and a capacitor and cells, but the cells, I didn't really go into those old tests because, you know, it gets boring to do the same test over and over. So I tried other stuff, and I tried other, and I have results and everything. And now I'm ready to proceed to build bigger systems. But, you know, it's a question of materials and continuing testing, but it's working. But it's not easy. It wasn't easy because the cells, like I say, if you try to plug them in series, then they don't pass enough amperage to open your light, so you can't do a direct connection. But usually we don't even do a direct connection. We re-loop on DC. We do parallel connections. So right now it's a combination of parallel and series, and I didn't have to include coils to have results. So, and I'm quite amazed because it's acting like a real powerful antenna attracting the energy. Now, this one that's more powerful than the other ones. I don't know if it's because of this bifilar coil. Now, this is what we could call a living coil. When I made it, I didn't know it was like a living coil. This actually gives me 0.2 volts because it's magnetic wire on aluminum, and it creates a dielectric, so there's a separation. And because of the GaNs, you know, I get 0.2 volt just from hooking it on it. So right now, it's like I only included the aluminum part of it, and the dual part of it, well, actually, I include one wire on the other end. So it's it's acting like an antenna. I'm not sure if the amperage and its potential comes because of that. There's a lot of variables. This went outside. Particular, I made some configuration outside to see how it would go. My neighbor went crazy, crazy violent using gel. So I don't know if it didn't fit him, but I could say he's a negative entity, so it probably boosted him up, and he overexceeded his violence, let's say.
So how much current do you think you're getting out of the system right now?
Well, the current should be about 100 millivolts.
Oh, 100 milliamps?
A milliamp, sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm getting more results than that. So I have to because constant measuring of current on low voltage like this is very difficult. It's just to light up the volt, the amp tester that I use, because I could use this one, but I like to use another one. I can't use it, and right now I would be able to measure it, and I think it's around 100 milliamps.
Okay, so that's about 800 milliwatts then.
But the capacitors are charging, and so that means that I could continue the setup with capacitors. Okay, because once they charge, it's easy to maintain the light at that voltage. So I could put others, they'll take time to charge. But once they'll charge up and I put the light on it, they'll stay charged. Because it doesn't take much energy to keep the light on. What it takes is, how can I explain this? When you open the light, you get a draw on the battery. Let's say you go from 12 volts to 11.1 or 11.5. You get initial draw from the battery. That costs something. You just lost that, it kind of disappears because it's an initial energy that you're taking from the system. But with capacitors, it doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's there for the taking. So when you plug the light on it, the only thing it needs more, it is just what the light needs, not what the battery needs.
Right. But you're getting about 800 milliwatts for continuous duty right now.
Okay. Well, okay. Let me.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yes. That there's these aspects. It's fun to have people around to 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 define it in other ways for everybody to understand it in their own model, because all the models can be used when you're working with this. But the model I use has given me a lot of discoveries and a lot of creation. So I prefer to work with my own way of seeing it, and that allows me to also clarify some. It will allow me in the future to clarify the models.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm familiar with the crystal cell of Marcus Reed. In fact, we've had quite a few discussions, and
Yes.
his system is about 10 milliamps at about, let's see, that'd be about 3 volts.
Yeah.
So that's about 30 milliwatts on his system, which is nearly about, it's a 1 liter capacity. I mean, as far as volume goes. So it's quite a bit.
Well, you see, I have this here. When I first originally made it, at 12 volts. The amperage, I'm not sure. I think around 100 millivolts, but I'm not sure. Then it went
That would be
down
milliamps. Yeah.
because of it was my first model of these are layered of ganses and graphite foil. So well, at least 40 layers, and I did it real fast. So I didn't take the time to divide the layers very. I cut the thing, and that it creates complication. But long story short, because of the way I did it fast, it compressed. It went down to 4 volts. It stayed there for months, and then I measured it. Didn't have anything. I dropped it in water. It had basically too much dried up. And right now, I didn't test it in months, but let's put the multimeter on it. Basically, I expect about 3 volts to 4 volts, but I can do this any voltage I want. It's just to take the time. It's very, in a way, I do it by hand, and I, I have to go through the errors. I don't have machine where to cut it for me. I'm at 1.76. Okay, but I've had this for 6 months, and like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's my first construction, and I had to figure out what was the mistakes on it. And
Yeah.
basically, I didn't use silicone. I just
Mhm.
used the hot glue because it's the only thing I had. So there's many aspects to it that explains why it's just 1.74. If I drop it in water, it'll probably go around 4. So that on that level, it's very easy to make plates because you don't even. There's a complicated way. There's a way from stronger field to weaker fields. That ensures an optimal system, but nothing prevents of doing the same oxide between two plates over and over. This is what this is. So basically, it would be like one plate with a separation, with like
Mhm.
one battery, and then multiple of them plug plus to minus, plus to minus. So I made one big one, right? With these three, with the oxide. I made graphite on top, scott towel, plus wax paper, plus aluminum,
Mhm.
and then I cut it in squares, and I just glued them one on top of the other on the side. So it explains the weak construction.
Do
But
you use any electrolyte in between?
water, you just
Just
see
water.
water with
Okay.
oxide,
Okay.
or because yes. So basically, these cells are not well for them to work. Need about 3% of oxide, the rest water. And believe it or not, still to this day, I should be using distilled water. I bet you my devices will work twice as much because it's already conductive, and I'm using tap water when I'm doing all this. So let's just say I'm leaving some room for some better results in the future where we could also enjoy at the same time. It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's easy with the cells. It's there, and there's a way of looking at it that just works. 1.83. It doesn't go down, going up.
So have you seen any degradation over several months, or how long have you had these operating?
Oh my God. Okay, so I've been doing cells for a long time. I've made them in all sizes, all shapes. I made them in every container pretty much you can imagine. So I have a lot of experience on it. The size, okay, basically you see this one is not sealed. This one is like a turquoise, oxide. It's growing. Still, it's growing. Okay, it will grow. If you don't seal it, it will grow. This one is totally sealed with silicone. This one showed not even one trace of oxidation. This one, the other ones are decomposing in a way. Oh, you see? Look, the aluminum wire on this one. But basically, it's funny because I just need to cut 6 wires and just put them in and just wrap a wire, and it's fixed. They're easy to maintain.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I made some permanent cells, and they turned out to actually be batteries because the aluminum did decompose after a while, and they actually lasted about 8 months. And then after that, they started degrading.
Well, I recommend using magnesium. There's going to be metals. You could use carbon. You could. Right now, I got aluminum in it. It's very efficient. And this one, believe it or not, I just realized how much it passed. I just have 3 connections, and this one is the one that passes the most amps. So it's kind of weird right now. It continues creating GANs because of the aluminum wire and the dielectric itself. As you can see, the wire right now has heated up. But this one, winter outside.
That's electrolytic decomposition. Yeah.
Oh, this past winter outside. Okay. This is not this one, which did not pass winter outside, and it's surely not this one that has no decomposition. It's same materials. So sealing it from oxygen changes everything. But I've done it all, so I know by experience. If you want them to grow in crystals, you leave them opened up, and they'll continue powering up. Okay, if you come in and you put inside this this straw, if you put in let's say a magnesium wire, or if you put in a zinc wire, then you'll still have the interaction layering inside itself. It will build up. All depends how you maintain it, but you can have it build up crystal upon crystal. You can make the cell very, very advanced by adding other type of gases once it dries up when it's open, because the other way it doesn't dry up, but this way they dry up. When they dry up, they create very strong gas. If you add very thick gas to it, you'll create layers. If you add the separator, if you're able to put a little silicone between them and then add the other gas, then you're going to start building up amps. And if you put them in the right configuration, you might just have way more, but it'll give you it anyway. I've done these with many types of different GANs, and they all showed results. So now to define which one was better, now that's when it's working, it's working. When it's self-sustaining, it's self-sustaining. Yeah, so.
I'm going to jump in real quick, Stephane. Great progress.
Thank you. I have to
you're alluding to something that I think is going maybe over people's heads real quick. Yes. And that's your layering of your GANSs, because do you want to explain to them what a capacitor is in basic terms, and then go why you're doing the layers, or do you want to do an interaction with us?
Well, I think that you're able to, because I have to go to class right now. It's 3:10 and it started at 3.
Okay.
students are not going to be like, oh, what's going on? But you could answer them in the other ways that other groups see it, because it's quite similar.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's an interesting process, especially what you just alluded to with your layers of cans, because you're setting up plates.
And yes, and just to you specifically, Fraz, I look up the Carrie Cassidy videos that she came up with to be up to date to really everything that's really going on, really, and from there, I think you'll have I think we'll be able to align better and to work better.
Okay. Yeah, I've been out of the loop too long.
Yes, thank you. I love you all, and thank you for being there and doing what you do. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much, Stephane, and enjoy your class. Have a great time, and do come back again, bro. Okay.
Yes, I will. I will.
Especially when Elizabeth's on. Elizabeth will be on the 5th of July. If that's all right with you, Elizabeth.
Yes, and Ellie, if you want to add me on Facebook, it'll be a pleasure to, and I'll try to be here.
Oh, wonderful, Stephane, you'll be back then, huh? Well, we hope you'll be back every meeting if you can make it.
The timing. We have the same time for our classes, so it's a bit just that. But I'll see what I could do. Yeah,
well done with your update. It's lovely to see what you're doing here. Yeah. Thank you, Stephane. Yeah.
Soon it'll be better. I'm waiting for materials.
Mm-hmm. May I add a comment to the aluminium? Maybe interesting. We figured out that aluminium is settling light and sound waves.
Yes, I'll let you continue, Christian. We as a group, Christian and Jacob and many people have come up with great stuff, and they have a lot to participate in this now, and they have their own studying that they're doing, and I recommend
sure.
I recommend a lot of about Christian. He's a wonderful person.
Well, now this is a panel session now. Anybody can speak up if they've got anything to show and update us with, and Elizabeth being here as well. It's so good to have a sort of a discussion here, and well, sharing of ideas and checking each other out. That would be great. Thank you. Hey, Peter is here. Peter, oh.
Hello, yes,
Hi.
I was talking to you on the Skype. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, I must tell everyone that this Zoom room is offered by Peter Fichtner.
Please, it's okay. I feel a bit not comfortable. You don't have to really mention that. It's okay, you know.
No,
it's not no big deal.
Because people are confused why there are two Peter Fichtners here, and Crystal speaking Peter Fichtner's box as well.
Yes, well, I do believe I can change the name twice because it's only twice a month. Then I can.
Don't change it. I'm very comfortable and happy to use your name if you don't mind me using.
No, of course. As long as you don't say thank you too much.
Okay.
I was writing to you.
This is a wonderful group, you know. Brothers and sisters with pure hearts here.
And anyway, Elizabeth written that she will be back in a few minutes on the phone call right now.
I see. Right.
So how are you in general, everyone? Okay.
Oh, we are fine. Thank you, fine. Peter.
Thank you.
So please continue because I disturbed you in the talk.
Right. Okay. So Christian, you were going to continue with what Stephane was showing us about his updates. Go on then, Christian.
Yes.
Show us what you've got. Your updates.
I had some maybe a short story before. I meet Mr. Cashy 1 month before privately in Austria. And because I got an invention from a friend of mine, from whom I studied a lot, because he was that guy who made a lot of cleaning and clearing with Chernobyl and with waves and with materials. And he worked with Austrian scientists, Dr. Felsenreich and Grefe at that time. And now he went very intimate to the Keshe group.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I had that feeling I do not want to work with them so directly as Klaus wanted or suggested for me to do. But I do not want that this knowledge which comes before from Austrian scientists, now only from the Keshe side. You understand where I want to go to? I want to open that source also for private studies.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very simple. They found out that each metal has specific qualities to settle or addict or verarbeiten. Sorry, in German, verarbeiten. I have always to use the bond because my English is not so good. So if you want to make a screenshot of that stuff, it is in German only.
Mm-hmm.
But
Arbeiten is work, isn't it?
what?
Isn't that what you said? Arbeit or arbeiten? That
Yes.
means work in English.
Work, but mean Verarbeitung. 1 minute, I will have it. Verarbeitung. To use. To use means to process. To process. So we have ground forces like communication. This means the ferromagnetic processing. The ferromagnetic processing is a communication tool. Then we have a yang. This means a disturbing processing. The yin is a dynamization processing. Then we have the global net, which is an ionizing processing. Then we have a Curie net, which is a magnetizing processing. Then we have a magnet net, which is an integration processing. Then we have a so-called deep down load, which is a magnet field building processing. That means if you have down a gold or oil or in the soil, this is a kind of ground force, which does magnet field building processing. Then we have planet force as ground force, which does magnet field pushing processing. And then we have a humus, means fertilized soil force, which can magnet field integration processing. So that are the forces. Oh, why is my I need to focus more with the camera, but it can't be seen good, I see. Anyhow,
Yeah.
we did with pendula. We did with pendula how the pendula does how the pendulum does work when we meet these ground forces. Ferromagnetic from one person to another or from one thing to another is just a simple AB lining, right? Yang is a counterclockwise. No, sorry, Yang is a building force which is going clockwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yin is counterclockwise. It does solute, means
that's female.
yeah.
Counterclockwise.
Then we have a global. This is the global net. The pendulum circles sometimes around, right? Then we have a Curry net. This is the Curry net, so it goes to the right side. It is a star, kind of like showing with the right side, and we can detect all these forces. And in this teaching of Felsenreich and Greve, they found also out that aluminium, which Stephane and some guys figured out that it is, they called it gravitational attracting. I guess it is because it is a light and sound wave processing, means calculating metal, while stibium or antimon just does sound wave changing. I don't know in what, but these are different forces. Then we have molybdenum. Molybdenum is a temperature changer. Molybdenum you use it for bearings to cool down. You know, it's a grease with molybdenum to cool down the bearings, right? So this does temperature change. Anyhow, chromium does ionization factor. It does mirroring the ionization factor. Gold does calculate with unknown factors. That is very interesting because the kings are wearing the gold, and the gold, you know, it is the blood, it's the wine and the blood and the gold, right? The wine and the blood and the gold. So it does not directly knowing factors could be harmonized with gold. Phosphor does radioactivity minimizing. Iron, radioactivity changing. That does not only mean radioactivity, but other sources of radiation too. Brom, I do not know how to say in English, bromium maybe. It does the time factor. It does change the time factor or manipulate the time factor. Iodine does if there is a loss or how to say a need for something, iodine is a factor to harmonize the needs. It is a kind of philosophical, but maybe some of us got touched with it and can work further with that. If you like, if you like this, I will complete just 5 elements. Do you like?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sulfur does calculate sound. Sulfur is very needed in the body, and all the world is full of sound, noise, and attraction. So we need a lot of sulfur to calculate that well, that sound in which reach us. Copper, acid and basis changer. Copper can change acidity and bases. Mangan, rotation changer. Mangan does change the rotation. Bore does the rotation bring down. Nitrogen does sound reducing. Silver, light and sound calculation. And we have that diagram here when we search water, right? We have all elements here outside on a corner, and we go with a pendulum to find out each element which can be in the water. I mean, from that what I told you. So we can make measures here. This is 100%, and we can calculate 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. This is a diagram to figure out how is the complexity of the water. If it would be in a harmonized circle, it would be a very good water, maybe like
now,
that.
When you go to test that, do you place the different elements around the outside edge, or just simply use the pendulum to determine it on that grid?
In that way, we put the water. We have that sample of water. Mm-hmm. We test which elements are in the water and how much, from 0 to 100 on a scale.
Okay.
And so we can have a good picture about the water. But these forces I just want to tell about, because we work a lot with metals, we work a lot with field interactions, and I thought to offer this knowledge, because it is a very long knowledge from BOKU Vienna and University Bodenkultur Vienna, means soil culture, means you know, this garden freaks. Yeah. And with Klaus Bauer, we worked a lot on that stuff with minerals and like floor. They are grinded down to very basalt, and basalt can handle the Wi-Fi effects and can save the waters, because the waters got very much affected from low frequency and high frequency. So that's why the waters in our country goes down, the levels, the groundwater levels comes down, because the water does flee away from that wave radiations. And so these are the forces you can arrange to work against and harmonize with minerals, mostly with mineral floors. You can, and with biological resonance materials like grape seed, composted grape seeds, you can bring down the radioactivity quite well, because they are resonance materials, the biologicals. And I just want to give a hint on that, if you like. Thank you. If you have some questions.
I'm just going to follow up on your water and your wells. When you have a water that has a well that the water has dropped in, yep, is it measurable when you do your changes of your minerals and stuff around the outside top edge? How do you do the, or measure or do the changes in the well or the water table?
I always took a sample from the how to say, from the reservoir, which has to be detected how good it is, and I do just a test with the pendulum, because my body is a water body already and has the information of good waters, which does clean him very well. So it is in the remembrance of the big mind that I can detect with my feeling, with my intuition, and with my resonance with that water, how it works. And I have just this pendulum. It is a basalt stone on it, you know,
Okay.
and a brass chain. And I do all my research with that because I learned it like that from Klaus-Dieter Bauer. And
the reason I asked the question was I didn't understand whether you were saying about the energy levels of the water in the well or the actual physical place of the water in the well. Because when we start a well, a lot of times we'll have 150 foot deep, or let's say 100 meters deep, but the water, once the well is drilled, will rise up in the casing to where it's 60 meters from the top. And so over the course of the time of the year, the distance from the top of the well to the top of the water increases and decreases, which has primarily, under at least Western knowledge, saying how charged the aquifer is with water, not energy, but just water. And so that's why I was asking for a clarification. Is it actual physical levels, or is it an energy level? And if you change the energy receiver at the top, do you actually see a physical climb in the well itself, where the distance from the top of the water, from the top of the well to the water, decreases or increases? I was asking for clarification.
Yeah, and now I got it. When I came to this place, I found the water a little bit just on the surface, on the field, because there was a hang. That means, and down under it comes, under stones, it comes a little out, this water, before 17 years. And on that very place, I need to dig down to get my water, because the free water, which was free running to my house, it does not come anymore. it went down so deeply that I could not reach it. And when the drilling machine goes down to 25 meter, at 70 meter, the water was not before. So that means in 1 year, it went down nearly 1 meter in the last 17 years.
Okay.
But I do not know what you want to detect actually in a pipe which is 60 meter deep down. So I know this works also. There is a pump in, and it sucks it on and push it up. Yes. You want to figure out why the water is going down and coming up from atmospheric humidity or from the electrification. Did you want to?
I was wondering if it was an electrification into it. We have seasonal changes in our own wells simply because we have a large amount of rainfall in the wintertime. Yeah. It takes a while for the aquifer to collect that water. Yeah. And so by the end of April, the water starts to climb back up in the pipe, and it'll travel 5 or 6 feet.
Like sponge effect.
Yeah,
like
and that's from the recharging of the aquifer. Yeah. In other areas of the state, they don't have this return to the same level because we have more people consuming more water from the well, from the aquifer, and so it's draining and it's lowering. In the case of California, in the California valleys, the land has dropped 7 to 8 feet because of all the removal of the water from below it. So the land is actually settled because it's no longer being supported by the water underneath.
By the push which comes from, which should be down under.
Yeah.
Wow. Hui.
And so And I think what we're running in a problem with translation between German and English is it the height of the well, or is it the energy of the water? And I think what you're doing is the energy of the water. Is it good for you? Is it beneficial, or is it lacking energy and maybe causing harm simply because it's dead, as Victor Schorberger would talk about? It hasn't passed over rocks and streams and gotten energized.
You got it. That's the main point, that it is a real old water, but you will not find that water so easily. The artesian water, which comes with his own, it is how to say, CO2. It is a natural CO2 chemical process where the old rainwaters and the groundwaters, they sink down because of their tiredness. You know, they are loaded with chemicals, they are loaded with informations, they are loaded with fields, and they are heavier than the original cleaned water. And the cleaning process works over 10,000, 20,000 years or much longer. To the waters come down to a very old granite substone, million years old, and the water will like a fractal cleaning. Then it starts to carbon oxidize themselves with very light particles, and I don't know to explain better, but the profis, they know how to explain. But these waters we have here, 6 kilometers from here, we have one of these waters. It is being sold to Kuwait Airlines, and the Kuwait Airlines, they buy this water because this is a very clean water. If you drink half a liter, you have to go pee-pee within 15 minutes. It cleans your kidneys very immediately, so that is a great effect of cleansing. And just these fresh waters, good waters, Schauberger talked a lot about, have that power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Mm.
All right. Thank you, Christian. It's so interesting what you were saying, diagrams and all that. So what does Elizabeth think about this?
I made a device, a pyramid structure. I have it here in the back if you want to see.
Oh, yes, we want to see it. Yeah. Thanks, Fred.
I just have four piece of wood, right?
Yeah.
It is a little bit hard to see, and I have here these rings made of GANs. I put in CO2, CO2, GANs, and Iboga, a plasma salt water.
Yep.
Yeah, and I put that rings around, and I have here CO2, CH3.
Now, I can't remember the name of the person who first showed this on a cash knowledge seekers workshop, that he was using Iboga on one of his health drinks and cured this person of diabetes. I wonder whether the cure has been permanent. Has anybody heard of any follow-ups there?
This is a very strong GANs to get rid of addiction. I tested out.
Did you?
I made the Iboga GANs, and I touch the blades. And when I touch the blades, when I put the blades out of the water to wash the GANs, I touch my hairs and my head, my forehead a little bit, and I'm a smoker. And then there comes a thought in mind: now you should have a cigarette. You 3 hours did not smoke a cigarette. And there was a conscious mind up which watched that I thought I should have a cigarette. So that means the plant shows me a subconsciousness when I could watch my mind and the addiction to the cigarette. You know? So if I would have worked further with that power of being aware that something in me does want a cigarette, but it is not me. You could have lost your addiction, maybe. So that yoga is a very strong dance, really.
Isn't it?
But you have to work with that spirit, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you do smoke as I do. So, and so I had a 1 week experience on an open place with 500,000 people, 500,000 people on a music festival. Mm-hmm. And I did make this pyramid, and I presented there, and the people do have a seat in there, yeah, because I have a chair in, you can sit in there, and the people they told me, wow, I feel different.
Hang on, Christian, you said you filled up the bamboo rods with the hollow bamboo rods with CO2 GANs as well as iboga mixture.
Yeah.
So they are all filled up. Yeah.
Yeah. In these tubes are different gases and mostly CO2, zinc oxide, a little bit CH3. This iboga I do not use all the time. I just, if somebody wants to look the addictions. But the people feel that, and they got amazing results also, because they could change their mind, and they got emotionally aware of some, and it is a simple device to make. You need no coils, you don't need any batteries. You can have stronger fields, because I watched these Keshe cancer walls with the coils. They use now 12-volt batteries on each coil, you know. And I did a test too. I was there in Austria, Linz, and I were in that walls, and I felt very strong, these walls. They work really strong. Yeah. But it costs a lot to coil all these things, and I mean, if you build it a little bit bigger, you could have it to lay down under, and it will be a nice healing effect. Cheap.
So, Christian, you made this device, and people sat in there. Thus far, have you had any good experiences from people? Any effects at all?
Yes, they got a clearance in their mind, and emotionally they could handle their main emotional problem. They could get a new perspective. They feel everything comes a little bit lighter, and they could find a way out of their emotional mind settings. Mm-hmm. This is a lot, I guess. I mean,
well, I guess we have to do trials scientifically by taking notes and do tests and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the long way, but I guess we could trust our intuition. If we have love for one another and we are true to ourselves, we can already feel what is right and wrong, right?
Christian, yeah, so you have made this. Is there any other devices that you want to show in this meeting? Because we got to move on, and I think Fres might want to say a few things as well.
Yeah, no, I did also make the cell package which Stephane showed with aluminium as a gravitative pin inside and a nano copper coil outside in a gold GaNs.
Gold GaNs.
Yeah, this is a gold GaNs nano. With brownish particles, violet brownish particles. I have a different, there is a lighter of the greenish yellow one, and this is the darker, heavier one in brownish violet. And we used also CO2, CuO GaNs, copper GaNs. And I got 5.5 volts with 12 such small cells. And I had also a car battery. And I had a Keshe coil, and I had some LEDs, and the battery does not go down.
Okay, well, what does this come up to then, Christian? I mean, are people still consuming GaNs water? Are they still doing that?
What do they do?
Yeah, do they still consume them? Drink the GaNs water?
I don't know.
Do you?
I tested CO2 GaNs water, yes, and I give my plants CO2 GaNs water, and I did all the tests with the seeds to put in before planting, and yes, it is wonderful.
You still drink GaNs water?
CO2 GaNs water I do drink sometimes, but just a little bit, one nap. Just as information.
Okay, Fres, you got something to say about that?
The safest ones are the CO2, of course. Safest of the GaNs are the CO2 and your zinc oxide, which are formed basically together. The rest of them I would be very leery of, simply because you're dealing with metals that may not operate well with your electrical system of your body. Anyway, getting on to what Stephane has been talking about and what Christian has been talking about, some of the things that our research has been doing, we're looking into before we had to break off for a bit, was the spark gap. And what that happens is when we get above the micro voltage and the microamps, we can actually, theoretically, let's put it that way, at this point, you can jump in amperage and voltage, or I should say voltage, quite rapidly in these systems. And having the spark gap in place sets your upper limits, because it's basically what they call it an air brake. And so it takes a little bit to break the resistance of the air, then it drops off. So it'll get up to that point, arc across, and then your voltage will drop across it. So that sets your upper limit on it. So that's kind of like a safety switch. Your capacitors are just a modified spark gap, but in that case, instead of having air between them, you have electrolytes in between two plates. A battery is just adding aluminum or something else to the system, a reactive metal that degrades, that breaks down, and that sets up a potential difference from one side to the other that you can draw the ions, the current from. So this is, in many different ways, we're dealing with the same process of the spark gap. And this is one of the videos that I really need to get recorded and up and uploaded to YouTube. It's on the sheet of to do when I get to it. But the spark gap, as we get better with our free energy devices and creating them, this is your upper limit switch, so that you're not grabbing, let's say, 20,000 volts by accident when you cross those 2 points. You want to keep it, in a safe range, 110 volts or something like that. The other thing that Stephane was talking about is when you have these systems in place, a capacitor releases the energy all at once. And we've found with some of our newer devices and stuff, the capacitors, we can release the energy slower as it goes to ground and use them for like flashlights and LEDs, because you can meter the amount through this, through your device, and that works really well. That gives you longevity. And having a capacitor in with your batteries, you don't take that initial charge. Let's say it's like filling a tube with water, filling the wire with electricity. When you first turn on the switch, you have to fill that wire with a charge, and so you lose that out of your battery. But if your capacitor is ready, waiting there, it fills it immediately. We use capacitors on our motors for our wells, so that when it first kicks in, when it needs that full charge to get it going, that initial twist on the motor, the capacitors fill up the difference, so that it's almost like having 130 volts sitting there waiting instead of 110. It's just a bigger dam waiting to release. And so the capacitors come in handy that way. The capacitors charge and release during the course of the cycle of the electricity, so that it buffers. It makes they call it filtering. It makes the current more stable. So it takes the high peaks out and the lower valleys out of your grid charges, because it oscillates. It makes it smoother. That way your motors run better, more efficiently, because they're not dealing with these changes in voltage and amperage. The capacitor basically filters it, so that it does two things. But it's getting back to that spark gap idea in what it does, and it's very, very important. And when we're looking at our energy devices, we really need to design our circuitry from where does the energy go to, and work our way backwards to the source, so that the safety systems, the switches and everything, are in place before we try it. Because once these systems go, if you don't have the safety pieces in place, you can have runaway circuits. And we ran into that a couple of times in our experiments, where all of a sudden we had a runaway circuit that overheated and burned up. Your spark gap, in what Stephane was doing with his capacitors, you have that pulse of what your motor needs, but it also has a chance to pick up on the ether, the static electricity that's in the atmosphere around you. It kind of sucks it up like a sponge if there's a capacitor that can be charged in that system. And so you don't have the load draw off of your battery, because it's being refreshed from the available energy in the space around you. So there's a lot of really important things in what Stephane brought forward today. The other thing is when I was going to explain about the layers of ganses, is when you dry your ganses in layers, one on top of the other, this is like sedimentary rock. You see the different layers as it forms. And if you put them together like a cake, you can actually, with the certain the different types in the right order, and you keep the order similar from one end to the other, then you actually build up a similarity to a capacitor in layers of GANs that are just microns thick, which is just a really cool process. And what I was going to ask Stephane is if he felt that it would be better to put either a very thin layer of silicon in between each one, or between groups of it, so that you had separate cells, or, you know, is he trying to work it as a battery, or is he trying to work it as a capacitor? Batteries and capacitors are very, very similar in how they're constructed. And so, anyway, those are the points that I was trying to get in when he was there, but I was very excited to see his progress. It correlates with the work that our team has been doing.
This is recorded. I'm sure he will catch up with the recordings and he'll hear you. Yeah. Well done. Hey, so this is cool. Right, is there anything else that you want to add to the equation first before we go round the table? Or
no, that's all I have for today. I was just excited to see what Stephane had to bring forward, and I was very happy with his progress.
Oh, that's so cool. Elizabeth, would you like to introduce what you are doing now? Let this be a little preview, so people would want to come to the meeting on the 5th of July. Yeah. You'll be speaking. Elizabeth, I've unmuted you. Do you want to tell us what you are up to? Because it's so interesting when we had a chat the last time. We want to have a little preview of what you do, Elizabeth. Elizabeth? I guess Oh, there you are. Oh, we can't hear you. Maybe the microphone's not, the volume's not up.
Okay, yeah, as soon as we get on a phone call, we'll do that.
Oh, I see. You were on the phone call. Oh.
Because I've been here.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see. No, I was saying that it would be nice if you could tell our viewers
right now, so
what you have up your sleeves right now, because it's so exciting and interesting when we had our little chat a few days ago. So I think people are very keen to see what you've got.
Yeah, well,
Just
I've got a
little
conference call
preview,
going
a
on at the
preview
same
before
time.
your talk comes on the 5th of July.
Steven's
So he's on a conference call.
Oh, he's on. Oh, she's
got
on
another one.
I'm sorry.
That means we're going to have to leave the meeting. Okay.
Elizabeth? Okay.
No, Elizabeth was on a conference call.
Oh, okay, she's on the conference call. I've muted her now. Right. Maybe. Oh, she's come out from our meeting. All right.
So maybe you can, Crystal, say a bit of, you know, what will happen, what she's doing.
Oh,
Is it okay?
we had some discussions. It's so interesting because she's talking about the devices that she's coming up with, quite close to what we were hoping to get from the you know, those technologies, the free energy technologies that was being discussed and brought up from the secret space program. That kind of technology that she's talking about the tweaking the telomeres of our DNA, our genetics, and all that, and you know, and how shall I put it? Inserting it in such a way that it's going to heal certain afflictions of the body, and it's with scientific precision that they're doing it, and it's so very, very interesting. And she was also talking about the friends of hers who have come up with breakthroughs in free energy technologies. So I did ask her this question. I said, is free energy then the basis of all these technologies that is coming out to be released to humanity to help us turn this planet around? She says, yes, absolutely. Because without free energy, for instance, our friend whom I was talking to, William Conrad, was talking about 3D printers printing houses for all those people who need homes, and people need not pay the bank's mortgages anymore because they can build their own homes very cheaply. And no matter how cheap it is, it still needs a lot of energy to 3D print homes and houses. So therefore, free energy is most important to assist in all these processes. Then it wouldn't be so, you know, energy consuming.
There is one technology which I know is working for sure. Mm-hmm. And this technology is working either in Switzerland, either in Austria. I will find on YouTube, and I'll put it here as I'll share the screen. Mm-hmm. Tectonica. Oh gosh, the name was Tectonica. I can't remember the word. Testatica. Oh, Testatica. Mm-hmm.
Testatica, right?
Yeah, Metartica Testatica. I'll share the screen with you, okay? So we can all see. I think it's somewhere either in Swiss, Netherlands. So this device is just working like a capacitors, these two, and it's taking the energy from the air. Yes. So it's taking the high voltage, let's say, and it's transferred through those sort of capacitors. It has its own name. My friend who's teaching physics in primary, he told me about the name of them. And he said he got the same device only in the smaller capacity at school to show children, you know, how movement can be done into electricity, electrostatics, yes? Can be made into electricity. And so he explained me how it is working, and he said, yes, this device might work. And this device is working for so many years they call the group, the whole group is, I think that's Antarctica, Sweden, not Sweden, Switzerland.
It is a spiritual group.
Yes. Some part of it, yes, some part of it is a spiritual group, and some part of it is a community, which is a community living in the like a Venus project, yes. Like the Venus project, which is, you know, living on the goods, not on the money. And so,
talking about the Venus project, it's such a
yes,
shame that Jacques Fresco passed away.
Well, everyone has to pass away, and if you know OBE as out of body experience, you know that it's a natural way, and they didn't die. They just move on. Where we stuck here still. So, you know, so it's a shame we still here and they move on. I would say, rather than it's a shame that he passed away, I would say that we can only take the best, and we can do what we can to move on with this project. Yes, that's why we're meeting today, not to waste the time. Just to, you know,
I said it's a shame he passed away, because James and I had dreamt of going to see him to ask him to help us with some of the beautiful creative architectural designs for our projects, James? That's the thing.
But anyway, you can still go into OOB. I'm learning it now, so when I will reach OOB, I know I can do part of it now, and I'm already got active dreams where I know I'm dreaming and I can do stuff in them, but I'm not yet, you know, out of body. So sometime in the future I will be. And at the end of the day, this device, yes, I won't tell you exactly, but you can Google the name yourself. You can Google more about it. And these devices are really working, yes. It's only that most of these devices are prohibited on the European market, and the websites which are built with you know, with the free energy devices are just taken out of the web automatically. When there is something decent, it's taken down. Whereas in Asia, there are websites which working until now, and people claiming that there is a free energy 100% sure already. Yes.
Yes.
So right
many
now
are claiming that now.
Well, at the moment, yes. At the moment, we are after two things. So one is this device, what we're trying to, you know, achieve. And second device is a magnetic motor. Yes, magnetic motor. My friend and many other people got a working prototypes, but magnetic motor PARENDEF. Yes, this one, it has to be like here on the free. Oh, not one. Because if you're doing like that, what is happening, at one point it's stopping. I've tested that, okay? That's what was drawn, it was a mistake. And you see here, it's free, yes? Like 3 pistons and 1 valve, yes? 1 valve and 3 pistons are going out from here. And so here need to be 3 cylinders, let's say, and then 3 inner magnetic like here is great. You see one, and they need to have a 20 degrees angle, even 20 degrees, and there is a few other bits and bobs. And at one point here, it has to have either electromagnet, or it has to have a different field, because if you're doing like that, I've tested that, then it's stopping at one point. But when you overcome it, when you overcome this field, what is happening? This will have a spin. Now what is happening when you've got 3 of them, like you got here in hand, then this has far more power and it's far more stable. I don't know if he will show us 3, like it was in the first, yeah, like it was in the first video. Or like here, you see? But this is an inner side, and people which are trying now in Poland, they use an inner and outer side of magnets. So I'll translate from Google, at Google, because I don't know how it is called properly in Polish. Okay, I will tell you its electric name. These are a stator and rotator. Yes, rotor. A stator and rotor. So these two things, yes, has to be properly designed in order to make it working. And this is working in 100% times. This one. Only we just now have a groups in Poland. They are hidden. They are afraid that someone will come, and they don't want to talk too much. They don't want to, you know, they will mention something and they will give you the knowledge so you can do something with it. You can use this knowledge, but then when you try to get in touch with them and meet, they either you losing contact with them, or they say, no, I'm always busy, I've got no time. Yes, and that's what it's end up. So they probably are afraid that someone will come and make them a harm or whatever. Yes. Which I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that I've got a problem with finding these people, you know, to work properly face to face. Yes. So I know only of the projects, and one of these people want to give me CAD project. Yes, 3D project, so I can build up myself from scratch. And he said this project 100% working. It's 100% working.
Well done, Peter.
Can you send us the 3D printing plan so we can print out those parts?
Yes, James, the minute I will have it, for sure, I will be happy to make it live online, and I will be able to share. I've got a plan as well to buy a 3D printer. If you don't know yet, okay, guys, if you don't know AliExpress, I was shocked. I went into AliExpress and I typed in 3D printer, and I was expecting, you know, a lot of dough for it. Yes, a lot of like you know, at least £500. Yes.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, okay, price. That's 130. I think that was the one. Crazy promotion. That's 130 to 138. Look,
I usually sort by orders, so you can see like how many, the ones that are most popular sold. See where it says sort by, click orders.
Orders. Yeah. So even look, James, it's less than $200. So including shipping, come on, it's cheap as chips, you know.
I know.
Stephane has one of that.
Oh, Stephane has one. Yeah.
Stephane is working with one of that.
Yeah, so you know, so we're talking about £200. If there will be, you know, couple of folks who can, you know, contribute, so they will spend like $50. Come on, people, it's you know, it's really cheap. And I would say, you know, okay, we can buy dear one, but let's face it, what we will do with it, you know, we won't be doing, you know, Eiffel Tower. Yes, if so, will be really small. So you know, using this technology, and using this magnet motor is really easy, because you just order the N52 neodynamic neodymium. Help me.
Neodymium.
Yeah, neodymium, exactly. So these magnets, yes, and you just mount it together, yeah. So you know, so it's really simple, straightforward to be done.
And how much energy would that device produce?
Well, James, that's the whole thing. You see, when I'm speaking to these people occasionally, and it's really occasionally, I don't have like a, you know, permanent contact to them. They say that it's very custom, very, you know, it's depend on the size of the device, it's depend on the quality, how you've done it, have you done it accurately or not. Some people claiming that they can have only 100 watts, and some people claiming about kilowatts. But you know, they all of them asking me to do, not to ask only, but to do. And when they see you next time, for instance, somewhere, yes, they just asking, what have you done since then? Yes, what's your progress? Have you done anything, or you just, you know, talking? Yes. So my goal right now, I bought neodymium, these magnets. Yes, I'm thinking about this printer. My friend want to buy it, so I'm thinking, if he would buy it, then I could print it off. If no, there is a printing services I know already globally, so you can print something and they will send you to your home address. And I'm waiting on that project only, 3D project. Yes, what I will get. If I will get that project, then of course I will share with you as well.
Okay, we can have a meeting after this privately, so we can wrap this up and stop the recording, and we can discuss a lot of things. There are so many interesting things that we can discuss about. Yeah, because we're also thinking of planning a mini conference where we can get together, and probably in Spain rather than in the UK because it's cheaper there. And you can bring the 3D printers, you can bring this and that, and you can invite your guys that you were just showing about the breakthrough free energy device that they have built. We can have a great time, and we can also show a lot of breakthroughs and programs that people can use. And we can have workshops as well where Fres can be teaching some stuff, Christian can be teaching as well. And so are your guys and James people too. Hey James, would you talk about a little bit about Elizabeth as a preview? Because you and I were in the meeting. You introduced Elizabeth to FESIG.
Yeah, but when we talked, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Remember all the details, but yeah, apparently she had some kind of free energy device, and Department of Homeland Security showed up at her door in 2011 in Georgia, and then told her
to leave. Yeah.
Well, they told her that I think they said they're going to take you out or something in those lines if you continue this. And she took the initiative to decide to just go ahead and leave the United States. So she picked up everything. I mean, she picked up what she could and left the country. And then she went to Australia, and apparently DHS contacted authorities over there, and they were making a ruckus. So I guess they were probably planning on killing her, and they were just making those threats. I don't know. Maybe it was just to screw with her head, but either way. Then she went into hiding, and then after that, when she vacated her property, she couldn't get anyone to rent her home. So because she lived in a small community, and apparently the people there all don't believe in government conspiracies, and when DHS shows up on your door, everybody gets all spooked. So so she's really in a really bad place, and I really do hope that this blackout in free energy technology ends. And it would be nice if the people that were responsible for killing and murdering and pillaging the planet would somehow be brought to justice as well. Because I think once the public becomes aware, oh, by the way, we never needed to pay for electricity for the past 100 years at least. Since the days of Tesla and his tower in New Jersey. Yeah, so right, it's pretty sad, but I really don't want to comment too much about her story, because I think she would be more qualified to talk about all the experiences. Sure. But yeah.
But it's very encouraging what she had been talking about, what her group of scientists. Of course, she works with groups, a couple of groups. And throughout the conversation, we realized that we do have some parallels with the common friends that we made, who actually are in a good situation to present their prototypes. So she gave me hope. Well, at some point, James had to go to bed because he was up till 4-ish in the morning. So she sort of like gave me hope that with or without the secret space program's release of their technologies, we are still making good progress. The lay people, the people, I mean, the scientists and the researchers whom they have been rounding up and trying to murder or kill or shut up, they are there still making the prototypes. And I think their technologies are really amazing from what we hear, from what she's saying. quite close to the you know, you're talking about salamander genes and all that. So she was talking about the telomeres that they could actually administer in certain parts of the body to regrow some stem cells or to regrow some whatever that's missing.
You're talking about the Priory machine?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Anthony Priory or magnetic Bordeaux machine, which apparently it time reverses your cells back.
That's right. Yeah. And she was saying they can be so precise as to when they want to reverse it back to,
they would rewind up the telomeres, and they were able to the scientist invented this device in the mid-early 1970s, and he was using it on mice. It was like a 3-story tall unit with 1970s technologies. So, and that size was only big enough to treat a mouse. So actually, I think I might have got that wrong. I don't know how big that unit was, because the point is it was only big enough to treat a mouse, and they didn't have one for human size. So he was treating cancer. They would give this mouse 2-minute treatment twice, like 2 times over over a 1-week period, and cancer was dissolving. And then they found that not only that, the mice were
younger.
They were becoming young again too.
Yeah, I know.
So they got some funders together, and they were going to build a much larger unit to treat a full-size human. And once they started building, then that's when the funders were threatened. Then I'm not sure whatever happened to technology. The whole project fell apart, but apparently the secret space program got a hold of that and is using that to re-age people on their trips to Mars and off-world.
Oh, I see.
So yeah,
it came from here. It is not an off-planet ET technology, huh?
Well, I'm sure the ETs have technology similar to that. They probably got something a lot more advanced. But yeah, this type of technology could totally it can make sickness and illness and old age obsolete.
Yeah, here, folks. It's for real.
We won't need any pharmaceuticals or drugs. It'll just be 2-minute treatment over a 1-week period. And I believe Elizabeth claimed that if you spend 8 hours in this device, it would re-age you a year. So you could sleep in it. You don't want to go spend.
So when you wake up in the morning after 8 hours sleep, you'll be 1 year younger.
Yeah, we could set up resorts.
10 years younger.
Yeah, we could set up resorts, and people can stay for how many X amount of weeks they need to stay, or days, whatever they need.
So it's not just a dream.
The problem what I found out with this kind of device is that the ethical principle in your character is very needed if you can manipulate consciousness and time, right?
Well, Elizabeth claimed the mental body decouples from the spiritual body, but that's only if you use the machine too fast. So I'm sure there's always issues with these certain types of technologies, especially when you're messing around with time. Definitely, they're going to have to. I believe the SSP has probably worked out the kinks. I mean, it's been what 40 years, 50 years now, almost.
Yeah. And James, remember during the conversation we were saying about the secret space program where the super soldiers like Penny Bradley had gone on missions and all, and she was chucked into the rejuvenation tanks every week, and then she's come out, and then when they push her back here on the planet, she says she's got so many problems and it's not perfect. And then Elizabeth said that it's because they did it too fast.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you know that the MAGRAPH system does manipulate time and consciousness too? We figured out MAGRAPH does change your consciousness and manipulate your time. Definitely.
Do you have to be in the presence of a magrev, or could you just be in the presence of the different type of Gons field, say in your pyramid behind you? Maybe you can paint Gons and all that wood, different types of Gons on each one of those wood pieces of that pyramid. What do you think? Yeah.
Yes, would also be possible.
Okay, how is Ali Sharif doing with his work? Because he was very advanced with his progress all along with Cash Foundation. So how is he doing? Have you heard of his progress?
I never heard something about him, because Keshe is collecting the guys. Oh, you still do recording?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. So shall I stop
No problem.
recording? Then we can talk about it later. Okay. Right. Can I wrap up the meetings now? Then we can talk about it later. Or do you feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable to continue?
Not with that stuff.
Okay, right. We will talk after
Because
the recording.
it comes
Okay.
some point.
Right. Okay, so we'll wrap up this meeting now, and then don't go away. Okay, I'm just going to wrap it up for the sake of the viewers, and I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, because it's been going on for quite a fair bit now. Right. So shall we just go round the table? And James, by the way, your suggestion was fantastic about people's comments on our YouTube channel. I've done it actually. I've got a whole document on it now, but we could do that the next meeting, okay? Because this meeting has gone around a bit. There's not many too interesting comments, really. You know, some of it are quite controversial, as you know. I mean, sometimes they have trolls there writing all sorts of comments. Yeah.
Well, what you need to do for now on is in every one of your shows at the introduction, go ahead and mention, just ask the viewers if they'd like to ask any of the guests any questions, or if they have any questions about free energy, submit them, and we'll get to them time permitting at our next show. Just put that in your notes.
Sure,
and that way we get audience participation.
Good suggestion. Right. So let's.
Are you still recording? Are you still recording?
Yeah, still recording.
Crystal?
Let's go around the table because I want to close it properly.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Let's go around the table. Christian, you've said what you wanted to say, and you got lots more to say after the meeting, after the recording. I mean, okay, Pras, you got anything unfinished?
No, I'm fine.
You want to close, James? James?
Yeah. Well, I'm just working on a new NeoCube design. It's going to have pyramids in it that are the same slope as the pyramids in Giza, 51.85 degrees. And and I'm going to put some of the Gons inside of it, and Ormus, some Mandara crystals. So yeah, it should be a pretty interesting device. That it's going to be probably 3 months out, but that's basically the main projects I'm working on, and still got my other projects of my nonprofit. I've heard that Swiss Indo might be funding us soon. So
when that goes out, then we can practically walk our talk and do all those projects that we ever wanted to do.
And as well as Humanis as well. Apparently they've got funding. US, other humanitarian organizations. And, they've been told to go on a blackout, so they're not giving out any information. So apparently money is flowing, but we don't really know the details, but it does seem positive. So just keep up the faith, I guess.
Well, there's been a lot of talk that the GCR has happened and the RV has been rolling out already. It's just that we are not on the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. So we have yet to be told when to get the numbers to go out there for the public. All right. Thank you, James. That's wonderful news. So we're going to get things done, and even a little bit of funds that trickles through, we're going to take it off the ground. I mean, what we've been planning and talking about is organizing our mini conference, which we couldn't do because our hands are tied, lack of funding. So once the funds comes in, we'll fly. Cool. I mean, there's a lot we can do, right? Okay, so next, Peter, anything else you want to say before we stop the recording?
I can only say thank you for the meeting. It was great to meet you guys.
Thank you for coming back, bro. And Ron,
No problem.
last but not least, Ron, any last things that you want to say for this meeting before we close?
No, nothing really from me, Crystal. I just enjoyed the meeting, and I'm here as usual.
Thank you, bro. We love it when you are here all the time as usual. So there being no other business, this meeting is now adjourned to the, when was it? Let me repeat that. Adjourned to the 21st of June, when Gordon James Gianninotto of Zeta Talk will be speaking, hopefully with Anthony Zender, a Kruger super soldier. James, what do you think of the combination? You think is good? Because Anthony
Zender and who?
Anthony Zender, Kruger super soldier, the one that you interviewed before. Yeah, he was speaking with me. He's great. I mean, he's got a lot of knowledge on what's going to happen and all. I thought it's quite a good match here, you know. And Zeta Talk, James Gianninotto apparently is coming from the Zeta messages, you know. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So
So
an exciting show. Yeah, we definitely want to listen to that.
yeah. So I don't want to put him on his own because it may not be that relevant unless we have another one in the panel as well, and with all of us, so we can ask the questions that is more relevant to what we want to do for FESIG. Okay.
Maybe we can try to see if we get Adrian in, but not as a main speaker. He could just come in and
not as main speaker anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Then we would like to know more about Skynet as well, and probably Cynthia Bolter. Yeah. All right. So that just sums up everything now, and it's going to be exciting, folks, because we're going to get Carrie Cassidy speaking in FESIG soon. So until we get all these bookings done, then she comes in, and hopefully she's got a spot on her calendar to join us, right? Okay, so there being no other business, I would like to say thank you so much, folks. Thank you for being with us, and stay tuned. And bye for now. Take good care. Bye.